If you see a ghostly woman with pale skin and long dark hair hanging in front of her face, and she's making weird noises, maybe she's meowing like a cat, you're talking about J-horror. Let's go ahead and get into it at the Horror Movie Syllabus. Hey everybody, I'm Professor Victor. Welcome to the Horror Movie Syllabus, where we talk about all of the must-see, essential, noteworthy films in modern horror. If you're new to the Horror Movie Syllabus, I recommend you check out our introduction video so you can get an idea of what we're about here, what we're trying to do, and how everything works. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. But for now, all you need to know is that at the Horror Movie Syllabus, we like to look at the 3 most essential or noteworthy horror films in a particular subgenre of horror. Today we're looking at the J-horror subgenre, the term given to the imported Japanese horror films from the late 90s to early 2000s that took America by storm. At the time, America was mired in its torture porn phase in the horror movie genre. So Japanese films felt like a breath of fresh air with their different cultural take on scares and things that made them uncomfortable. As I poked fun at in the cold open, the movies tend to feature ghosts or curses, and they reflect a different cultural sensibility in Japan, something that I think American audiences really responded to when they first hit the scene. For more details about the J-horror craze and its impact on American horror, I recommend a YouTube video by the group Screened called What Happened to J-horror. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But now we're going to look at 3 of the best J-horror movies of all time. Fans of the Horror Movie Syllabus know that we like to categorize these 3 films into undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate levels. Today those levels are going to indicate the level of violence or gore in the film. So with that, let's go ahead and get into them. The first movie we're going to talk about, the undergraduate level movie, is Ring. Ring, also known as Ringu, is the story about a cursed videotape where anybody who watches it dies after 7 days. I saw this movie after seeing the American remake, The Ring. I sought it out because I loved The Ring so much that I wanted to see the original source material. We'll talk about the American version of The Ring in another video, but for now let's just say I think I still like the American version better, but I do really like the Japanese version as well. I admit that the Japanese version maybe doesn't have the same production values, and maybe the mystery isn't quite as engaging as the American version, but I still like it a lot, and the main reason for that is the ending. I won't spoil it here, but I feel like the Japanese version has a much darker and bleaker ending than the American version, which, to be fair, is kind of par for the course for American remakes of foreign films, but in this case I think it really resonates. If you like the American version of The Ring, or even if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend checking out the Japanese version, as it is excellent and it's definitely worth a watch. Our second movie we're talking about today, the graduate level J-horror film, Battle Royale. Battle Royale is a movie about high school kids who are forced by the government to hunt and kill each other for sport. If that plot sounds familiar to you, that's no surprise. Fans of the Hunger Games are probably looking at the screen right now going, and those of us that are Battle Royale fans went, when we saw trailers for the Hunger Games. The similarities are remarkable. I'm not sure if there was ever a lawsuit or anything like that, but the Hunger Games clearly is influenced by Battle Royale. The difference is that Hunger Games pulls its punches regarding its subject matter. Battle Royale does not. There is a lot of depraved kid violence in this movie. Fortunately, the vast majority of it is kind of played big, played for laughs, if you will. So it's not quite as disturbing as it could have been. That said, kids murdering kids, it's still pretty disturbing. Way more disturbing than when that one little kid got killed in Hunger Games. If you like Hunger Games, there's a good chance that you would like Battle Royale. If you never saw Hunger Games or could care less about Hunger Games, there's definitely a chance you could like Battle Royale. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy ultra-violent. It's got a lot of laughs in it. It's kind of a surreal viewing experience. If you do check it out, let us know what you think in the comments, because I'm curious to see what kind of experience you have with it. Okay, so now we've come to our third J horror film, the postgraduate level horror film, and that's going to be Audition. Audition is a notorious film amongst horror fans, and with good reason. It's directed by legendary Japanese director Takashi Miike, And if you're familiar with Miike's work, you know that he likes gory stuff, disturbing stuff, violent stuff. It's kind of his reputation. If you see Takashi Miike's name on a movie, there's a real good chance that you're going to be watching some really messed up stuff. In fact, if you've ever seen the movie Hostel, a movie that we will probably talk about again in the horror movie syllabus, there is a cameo by Takashi Miike in the movie. He comes out of a warehouse after doing something unseen but probably unspeakable and gives a great line that you could spend all your money in there. It's a wonderful cameo if you know who he is because it's kind of playing off of his reputation. Now, the thing about Audition is that while it is Takashi Miike and it does live up to that reputation, I do think it's a little bit overrated or overstated in just how gruesome it actually is. In fact, you'd be surprised to find out that for the first half of the movie or more, it plays off as kind of a romantic comedy. The plot of the movie is a man who's looking for a wife, and he decides to set up an audition for a fake movie in order to audition a potential new wife. He finds a woman named Asami, and, well, let's just say he gets more than he expected. Like I said, the first part of the movie is almost sweet, like a romantic comedy. It shows that Miike could do something other than gruesome horror if he really wants to. But then the movie goes dark. Really, really, really dark. Yes, the movie has a lot of gore. It has some really gruesome scenes. But I think the thing that's the most disturbing is the Asami character. The actress who plays her, and I don't have her name in front of me and probably couldn't pronounce it right if I did, is fantastic. And she portrays the character with such bone-chilling matter-of-factness that it will haunt you. And I can see why people praise it so much as a disturbing horror film. It really is disturbing. I don't think it's as disturbing as some of Miike's other works, and we might wind up talking about those in the future, but Miike's done some really gruesome stuff, and I don't think that Audition really measures up to some of that stuff, but taken on its own in a vacuum, Audition is rough, it's dark, it's gruesome, and brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So that's going to do it for the best of the J-horror films. But as you know, I like to leave you with a few extra credit movies if you really like this subgenre. The first one I'm going to mention is another Takashi Miike film called One Missed Call. It's a pretty good film, not nearly as gruesome as Audition and some of his other works, and it's far, far better than the American remake, so it's definitely worth a check out if you haven't seen it before. The next extra credit film I'll mention is Suicide Club. Suicide Club is also pretty dark. It's about a bunch of kids committing suicide and the police trying to figure out why. It's maybe not quite as gruesome as you might think, but it's still a really tough subject matter for people, so be aware of that. I mean, I guess trigger warning for people who have issues with suicide, because the movie is literally about a bunch of people committing suicide, and it shows a lot of people committing suicide, but it is also called Suicide Club, so you should kind of be aware of that. But anyways, trigger warning anyways, just in case you need it. And the last movie I'll recommend is a movie called House. Now, full disclosure, I haven't even seen House yet, but it's on my short list of things to do because it's been given a lot of praise by a lot of people as just an incredibly weird and surreal Japanese horror film. And from the few clips I have seen, it looks bug nuts crazy, so I gotta check it out. And once I do, maybe I'll leave a comment down below and let you know what I think about it. If you've seen it before, let us know what you think about it too, so I can get an idea of what I'm going to be in for when I finally do see it. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys very much for attending. If you have suggestions of other J-horror films that should be seen, leave them in the comments below so we can all check them out. Side note, if you're wondering why The Grudge isn't in this video, that's because it's probably showing up in another horror movie syllabus video. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let us know what other J-horror films you think are good. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Class dismissed.